We have to contain this.
So one thing I never noticed about that is how some of the recordings don't really sound electronic enough, you know? Oh man. Now I think about it, imagine how fun it would be if there's just a naked Doomslayer level where you just run around with just the guns and no armor at all. It's just you being just covered in demon blood and fighting them just naked. I don't know which suit I like more, the Doom Eternal one or this one. I think I might prefer this one just because it's a full body suit. I don't really need to see his muscles like the Doom Eternal one has. Crunch. I love the sound design of this game. It does such a good job of immersing you in the experience through the sound effects of the, like, bone crunching and, like, blood splattering and all this other stuff. I love that sort of synchronization where the music sort of leads into the gun cock. I also just like the soundtrack of the game. Soundtrack for this game and Doom Eternal. They're fucking awesome. Did he die? Why was his foot spinning? I didn't even really do anything to him. I kind of hate how her dialogue just loops here, and it's just constantly going. I always find it weird how there's this, like, what the... I was chilling! Meh. But, I always find it funny how this, like, copier-looking machine thing is the thing that stops these things. Slowly snipe his dick. He has been de-dicked. And ammo for the plasma gun. Which I probably need to go back and find. Because I remember that every game, like, almost every level, or not almost every level, but several levels in the game have that effect where you can go back, where you can find a gun early. Like, there's a scripted sequence where you're probably going to find a gun, but then there's, like, a secret version where you can find a gun, right? So, like, there's that version. It's kind of weird how, like, you have the weapon wheel, but if you're on, like, mouse and keyboard, like, 1 is the pistol, 2 is the shotgun, but then 3 is the plasma rifle, and 4 is the heavy assault rifle. Like, you'd think that the rifle and the plasma thing would be switched. Because you're probably most likely to find one of them over the other before you get to later stuff. I like how their projectiles get fucked up if you, like, kill them in the right sort of motion of their attack going through. It's like their fireballs go kind of limp and just kind of fall wherever they were, like, angled to fall. Here we go. It's kind of neat how they take sort of a hint with the blood. It's like, hey, you can use the blood to get up here. That's kind of neat. Then after that, it's just all, like, gamer intuition. Yeah, fist bump our little bro. Yeah! Even did the Weedly. I love what the devs have done with this game in Doom Eternal, where it's sort of, it knows that it's a game, so it has fun with the fact that it is a game about, like, stuff from other games. This is one thing, though, about playing this and Doom Eternal, is I get confused and think that certain weapons will do certain things to certain enemies in this game, when they don't do that in this game, but they do it in Doom Eternal, you know? Like those guards that have the shields that you can overload with the plasma gun, but they don't actually, like, overload in this game. Hello, little guy! There's a little part of me that wants to, like, see if there are collectible versions of these collectibles. Because I'm not really a collecting person, but I got, like, two little figurines from Doom Eternal. I got the Doomslayer and what are those guys called? The corrupted Doomslayer Knight-looking dudes. I forget what their actual, like, in-game name is called, but I got two little tiny versions of them, and they're cool, and now I'm getting the itch to collect shit. Which is probably not good, because it means that I'll want to collect everything. This is how it starts. Yeah, it's a Marauder. I'm looking at the bottom of the little figurine now. It says Doom Eternal Mini Marauder Collectible. I always thought those guys were cool. At first, I really disliked them as an enemy, but then they kind of grew on me as, like, a... They sort of raise the tension while playing differently than most other enemies, where you just shoot the shit out of them. Like, you have to be strategic with them. Marauders are tough. They are, but I think they're a good... I think they're a good counterweight to the way the game works, right? Where most enemies in that game are basically just shoot 'em up like normal, but the different weapons deal increased damage to them depending on what type of enemy and what type of gun you're using, you know? The Marauders are sort of a thing that shake up the intensity because they're still fast and aggressive, but they have an opening. So it sort of adds like almost like a Dark Souls level of rhythm to their combat, as opposed to just, you know, jump and dash and shoot, jump and dash and shoot, jump and dash and shoot, you know, over and over and over. Like, the Marauders kind of break that cycle a little bit and force you to be more tactical about how you use your weaponry and shit. That's something that I've always liked about them, is that they sort of change the way you view combat whenever they appear in a combat scenario. It does get a little insane when there's two of them, though. Whenever there's more than one, it kind of screws with you. I'm really looking forward to playing Doom Eternal again, just because, just how much is in that game in terms of content, right? Like Doom 2016 had a good bit of content for its price, right? Like, it's a fair price for the amount of content in it, but Doom Eternal is so much more vast in terms of things to fight, places to go, levels to interact with, and secrets to unlock. I have a pretty good computer, so I should be able to manage it. I like the teases of some of the bigger enemies like that one, and the Cyber Demon walking past like a window when we see it later.
Core temperature rising.
That's what I say when I'm about to... Never mind. I forget. I think that last upgrade I'm wanting is 3, right? Yeah, it's 3. Those who answers the 5 questions... 3, sir! 3 questions. The 3 questions will be granted passage across the Bridge of Death. If one should fail one of the 5 questions... 3 questions, sir. Yes, 3 questions. I need to rewatch Monty Python and the Holy Grail again. I keep watching it with my wife and she falls asleep every time, so... I can't tell if I'm insane or if just she has no taste. I love a good sci-fi monster, and just the Doom, just creatures in general, I've always scratched an itch I find cool. I remember like farming that one rune challenge where you just have to use your grenades over and over, and you can just sit there and just spam grenade throw over and over to get that challenge done. I'm kind of looking forward to that. This is a good position. It was advantageous! I might die. Yep, I died. Shit.
Remember, the blind council is always watching.
I always found that funny. I was like, the blind council's always watching, but aren't they blind? Isn't that how this works? Oh shit. Blew myself up. That's the thing about this game that's kind of weird in a way, is that it's... As the difficulty goes up, your damage, I think, stays the same. It's just you become more and more of a glass cannon as you go, like, through the, like, subsequent, sort of bits. This is one of those moments that does feel very, sort of, from like a writing standpoint, because, you know, she's right there. We're the Doomslayer. That's just glass in front of us, right? Like, aren't we supposed to be ridiculously strong, as well as super aggressive and get shit done? We just let her walk away and disappear. We don't get power-ups that... Like, my kind of thing whenever I play games is I will usually go for a consistent passive bonus rather than a niche, super powerful thing. Right, so if something can regen faster, I'll take that over an instant heal whenever at low health sort of a thing. Right, so like that's my sort of philosophy when it comes to a lot of these sort of, like, when you have to pick upgrades, I usually go for passive things that will be constant. Alright, penetration, good. You heard it here first from Vangeris. Penetration is good. Would have been cool if they had like a mode of little challenges like that, where you could impose like custom rules on yourself during a level. That'd be a cool little addition to the arcade mode. You know, like if you could set limitations for yourself and your score would go up depending on what those limitations are. I've seen other games do something similar to that, and I think it'd be a cool little thing to include. Here we go. This might be one of my favorite guns to use, just because there's nothing quite like having a giant machine gun. Just a huge chain gun. There's a reason it's such a fun weapon in so many other games that have it. What's up, little dude? You know, this is probably the best marketing you could probably have for your game, is just having a bunch of little collectibles in-game. To the point where it kind of gets players thinking about, it'd be kind of cool if I had one of those little things. You know, it's sort of a non-intrusive way of going, hey, collectibles are neat. Would you like one? I always forget that there's more to these arenas, because I sort of pick an area I'm comfortable with, and then I tend to fight there. I imagine in the Dark Ages we'll get something along the lines of context for why we're in there. You know, like in terms of the events leading up to that. Because in Ancient Gods Part 2, we basically go back to being in the box. I can't wait for Dark Ages. It's the only game I'm truly excited about. I'm interested in Subnautica 2, but I didn't have that good of a time with Below Zero comparison to the original. But Dark Ages I'm actually excited for. This is the one thing that I have noticed is sort of like... I feel like one of the biggest negatives of this game is that there tends to be moments where... It's like you're doing the Doom stuff, right? Where you're like jumping around, shooting demons, unlocking secrets, all this other shit. And then there's periods where you kind of just drop into a section where you basically just kind of sit back and just story happens. Like right there. Where you're just kind of forced to sit there and just sort of take whatever's being sort of handed to you in terms of like lore, basically, whether it be story or environmental storytelling or what have you, you know. That's one thing I wonder about now is, like, if you don't get the super shotgun here earlier, can you come back and get it now? Because some of these areas are... Like, I wonder if the areas are dynamic in any way, where you can pick up something, like, early and still pick it up later, because I know in this level, one of the earlier rooms, if you did not pick up the chain gun in Hell, you'd be able to pick it up in the facility where we got sort of the lore dump. Right, so I wonder if these levels are dynamic in that way, where the chain gun wasn't there because we already picked it up earlier. So I wonder if that happens for other guns in this area, right? Like if the super shotgun is here, if you come in earlier. Let's see, since you're entirely faces, does it count as a headshot if I shoot you in the eye? Hey, that counted. I just now realized that little insignia on the gun like lights up as the thing charges. That's a cool detail. I love when guns do that, where they have like a diegetic, like in-game indicator of their ammo. It's like the guns in a lot of like Alien or Alien versus Predator games, where you're playing as like a colonial marine or whatever. If they have the ammo on the side of the guns. I've always found this game and Doom Eternal to be incredibly well paced. They always end up like giving you like stuff at a pretty steady rate, for the most part. The story in this game is one thing that I think is close to being sort of not that great. I don't think it's terrible, but it's probably the closest they come to having to sort of start and stop shit. I do think the pacing for the most part of these games in terms of new challenges, new guns, new unlocks and things is pretty well done. Alright, man, you're killing with me. I'm just gonna strap you to my belt. That's one thing I've always loved about the Doom games, just how brutal they are. It's like he needs the eye of a guy to get through a door. He'll just bring the whole head with him. And whatever's attached to it. No questions asked, just, I need this. So let's make it work. Let's see, bigger distance for glory kills, or just faster ones? Faster ones is more intense. We're going to take the George Lucas route. Faster, more intense. Reference! Reference! I feel like that's the arena that we eventually make it towards, and that's the other arena that we make it towards. It's always weird when you have games like this where it's pretty obvious, like when the game is saying, hey, there's a, we have to load separate levels in the same level, so we just have like a random piece of land that just floats here that's disconnected from everything, because we need it to function for the sake of like gameplay and stuff. It's funny to think about how video games work sort of behind the scenes and what they use to sort of trick you into things. Oh, I love that. Just look at that damage. Damn. It's just satisfying to look at your handiwork and be like, yeah, I blew that fucker up. Our bullets shall block out the sun. Some of the hitboxes are not that great. Across here, some of these explosion moves and AoEs have a little too big of hitboxes here. This was one of the most weird positionings of the map, where it's like they're like 30 feet from each other. Some of them are close, which it's not really a problem. It's just this one is like right next to it, so it's like kind of. I sit here and wonder, like, why'd you even, you know, like, why even bother put? It's like putting a key on the floor in front of a door. Right? It's like it's just a roundabout way of making this take longer than it probably needs to. So it's like I swear I'm not even like aiming half the time. I'm just clicking and just auto seek the enemy with this rune bonus, where it's just like, is there an enemy vaguely in front of you? Oh man, this is one of those things where I really enjoyed this game, but it's kind of weird replaying it after playing Doom Eternal, because I think Doom Eternal is my favorite of the two I've played so far, because I think it has a better balance of mechanical variety versus like story, right? Like, this game's extremely light on story, and it kind of just pops up every once in a while, where it's just like, okay, here's story bit, but most of the time it's like engaging mechanically, and it's just it's one of those games that I feel like is a really good starting point for the sort of like the reboot of the Doom. And Doom Eternal just kind of kicks it up a notch, and then the DLCs for Doom Eternal kick that up a notch. So I'm really curious where Dark Ages is going to go by comparison, right? Because how is Dark Ages going to compare, given that it's a prequel, right? Like, are they going to simplify stuff from what came here and try to come back to this type of Doom game where it's not quite as ultra aggressive and like fast as Doom Eternal was, with the dashing and all the different enemy types and stuff like that? Like, because that's the problem when you make prequels, right? Is how do you justify the difference in intensity from something that's chronologically comes before, but technologically comes after? You know what I mean? You know, it's kind of like the Star Wars original trilogy and the prequels, right? It's like the action scenes in the OT are very mild compared to the prequels. You know, the prequels are so over the top with like how fast the lightsaber duels are, how much shit's on the screen at any one time during the battle sequences and stuff like that. And it's like, how do you kind of compare the intensity of one thing to another when one was created afterward but is meant to come before another thing, you know? And so I wonder how the Dark Ages is going to deal with that. If it's going to try to reinvent what Doom 2016 did, but give it a little bit more flair in terms of like gore and the way your kills work. You know what I mean? Because Doom Eternal, for all intents and purposes, made everything deeper, right? Like, everything was deeper and faster, right? So it makes me wonder, are they going to continue down that route and make combat even deeper and even fast, you know, even more fast on top of that? Or are they going to try to keep it sort of consistent where it progresses over time, right? You know, like, I just have questions. I just have questions of how they're going to, you know, do that. And I just wonder how it's going to... I wonder how it's going to go. Like, after playing this game and then playing Doom Eternal and then playing the DLCs for Doom Eternal, this is one of the few studios that I actually have, like, a positive opinion of. I know there was some drama with the whole Mick Gordon thing and the soundtrack for Doom Eternal, and that caused a falling out between Mick Gordon and the id Software team and stuff like that. I don't really know, like, who is ultimately in the wrong, or if there's, like, a little bit of blame on both sides. I haven't looked into it beyond a couple of things. I love that shot. It's just cute. See an itty-bitty Doom guy. you know, just I wonder how. I just wonder how things are going to go in Dark Ages, because it will be a prequel to this game. So I just wonder how it's going to be and how it's going to end up. I do love this credit sequence though, how it's got all these different references that are relevant to the crew working on the game.